building structures were totally engulfed. I think the chief said there were at least 100 firefighters had responded to it. Wow. It was quite a scene out there. It really was. Thank God nobody got hurt. None of the residents, all the residents got out. No firemen got hurt. It was really an incredible experience to observe our fire department working. And it's just, you hate to see it, but you were glad the level of coordination with the other departments in our police department out there, all the first responders. It's just, communities come together really quite impressively at a time of crisis like this. So it was something. So I would just, as Councilmember Pell just said, it's not just coming to city council meetings. you may get a phone call that something's going on in your district that you got to show up for. So it's
I was down in Ansonboro at 12:30 today, meeting with a gentleman about a parking issue. So I'm already started. I got officially sworn in on Friday, and I think I started getting emails Wednesday morning after the election results were final. So
nice. There's no grace period.
No, zero.
Welcome aboard.
Thank you. Nice to see you. I guess I'll see you tomorrow and Wednesday.
Yeah, that's right. Now we have 2 meetings coming right up back to that. So
you know what? That reminds me, Councilman Gregg, are you already up and running with your Charleston email address? Because I need to send you 2 memos for this week.
I am. Yeah. I got logged in this morning, so yes.
Okay, I'll be sending you something shortly.
All right, great.
Good deal. Well, we are taking care of a bunch of business right now. This is good stuff. Well, I see that Mayor Tecklenburg has arrived, and it appears like we've got a quorum, and we can go ahead and get started. So welcome everybody to the Real Estate Committee meeting for February 7th, 2022. It's a little after 3:30, and we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Councilman Waring indicated that he is unable to attend this committee meeting today, and he is set to give the invocation. So Councilman Shayed, would you do us the honor of
I guess payback is always something that you're going to be enjoying, Councilman Rappel, for being chair of this committee, right?
Well, I just know you can drop a pretty good prayer on moment's notice. So I certainly can't. So I'm gonna hand it to the professional.
Well, I will just sort of reiterate what we were chatting about before you called this meeting to order, and just eternally grateful for our first responders this morning. The mayor and I were both out there and witnessed firsthand the level of professionalism and bravery. And while several people, I think the numbers mayor said 50, I thought it was higher than that, are now homeless because of this fire. And those people who had their homes destroyed literally lost everything. They lost their possessions. And this complex was not a transitional complex. This is home to a lot of people on for long-term basis. So my prayer today is a prayer of gratitude to our first responders, a prayer of gratitude that this fire, as devastating as it was, did not cause the loss of life or serious injury to anyone. And it's times like this that we put things in perspective of what's important to us in our lives, which is our loved ones, our friends, our family. And to that, we were grateful to our eternal Father for keeping us all in good health and in good state. So God bless us all, and God bless the city and our first responders. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Council Member. Very well done. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from January 24th, 2022. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
All right, we got a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. First item on the agenda is an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute on behalf of the city a utility easement. This is in connection with the James Lewis Jr. East Side apartments, and it appears like item A and B are related, and perhaps we can have those addressed simultaneously. I see. Is this Julia sharing her screen?
This is me sharing the screen. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
I
Take it away.
jumped the gun. So this is, yes, 2 easements, both for Dominion, and it's specific to this particular project. So they can be considered together if you would like. So if you look here, you've got Hanover Street, Lee Street, and on this side over here is Nassau, okay? And the project is right here. So Dominion would attach to the power box here, and this is underground duct work, everything in pink, running across here to the transformer. And this is all electricity. So you've got this that runs here to Nassau, runs to another transformer or power box over here, and then it runs all the way down Nassau Street, as you can see here.
Got it. Got it.
Another power box here at this end. But this is specific to the JLJ property here, and then I guess there's a future affordable housing site that might be considered on this corner. So this would all be to facilitate the electricity for those projects.
Good deal. And Julia, are these easements related to like undergrounding power lines, or are these just normal easements?
I don't know if they are specific to undergrounding, but they are putting all of this ductwork underground in order to run electricity. So I would assume that that's what the purpose is.
Got it. Got it. Good
So
deal.
moved.
We have a motion on the floor now. Now, Councilman Shade, is that for just item A or for item A and B?
I think you want to do A and B together, so I make sure that my motion's for approval of item A and item B.
Good deal. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Mayor seconds. Any discussion? Mayor.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did want to point out that it has somewhat become the goal and policy of our city when we develop new affordable housing to try, both from a resiliency and aesthetic point of view, to put power lines underground. This particular project was done before our new schema, if you will, for undergrounding. And so the cost of this undergrounding really falls squarely on the city. I just wanted to let y'all know that. We had set aside funding in the Cooper River TIF district to help accommodate this. And I know Ms. Doran is here for another matter, but we are working on a undergrounding for her project at the Archer School, and then another small undergrounding project for the Charleston Housing Authority up on Hugie Street. Now, I hope that both of those projects will come under the new schema, if you will, to where the city would pay for half of the cost. Sometimes the developer pays a portion, and Dominion pays a portion as well. So that's a bonus to us that we utilize some of the funding that had been set aside for undergrounding. And I probably didn't need to go into all that, but I thought it was, kind of applicable and wanted to share that with everyone.
Good deal. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Mayor. Any other discussion on this item or these two items?
I've got a follow-up question. So does Dominion give us an estimate for what, I assume we're paying Dominion to do this. So what's the estimate for this particular project?
They generally do, but I can't say I have that number on the tip of my tongue. Any
Okay.
staff out there have that?
Honestly, I don't know if we've gotten that far yet, but I can certainly ask the engineer who submitted these drawings just for the easement itself. But we can find a number if it does exist.
I can pretty safely say it's more money than we'd like. It always, every time we ask for a number on undergrounding, it opens your eyes up. It's more money than you'd think. But in the long term, we think it's worthwhile.
I agree.
Yep.
Definitely. Definitely. Good deal. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving little a and little b, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is a request for the mayor and city council to approve the sale of the Shires apartment to Harmony Housing, Inc., a Georgia-based nonprofit organization. It's a pretty long description here, but it involves the Humanities Foundation. And who from our staff is going to speak to this one? I assume Gianna is going to speak.
Yes, sir. You assume correct. Thank you, sir.
Good
And
deal.
Mayor and council, thank you all for the undergrounding. It really makes a difference in the appearance of the neighborhoods, especially with the new development. I wanted to add that in. So what is before you all tonight is letter C, is a request from the Humanities Foundation to sell the Shires apartments. The covenants that exist on this right now go to 2027. Their goal is to sell this to Harmony Housing, Inc., which would retain the property as affordable for a minimum of 30 years. The property itself, the development, would continue to serve residents earning 60% and below the area median income, which are your typical rents for your low income housing tax credit projects. I would also add that the city over several years invested a total of approximately $379,000 in the property itself and the acquisition and construction. And I indicated on the committee council agenda form that that amount would be returned. It is not that full amount. A portion of that, approximately around $140,000, would be returned as part of that sale, and we don't have the final number on the sale yet. The goal with those dollars, and Ms. Doran can elaborate on this here in a moment, but the goal of those funds would be to reinvest those in other what we call CHODL eligible, or community housing development organization eligible projects. And so we would certainly recommend and ask for your approval of it. And Tracy, if you wanted to add anything, I'm glad to hear from you.
Thank you, Gianna, and thank you, Mayor and City Council. Yes, we have been, we have an older portfolio here in Charleston, and most of these older properties we have sold, two of them actually to the City of Charleston CRC. And most of them are at all 50% of AMI rents, and they're very hard as they get to the 14, 15, 16, 17 year of operations. They just do not carry themselves anymore, and we end up having deferred maintenance and issues, and we have to lend money to the properties. So what we're trying to do is sell these properties to someone that will keep them affordable. In the case of Harmony, they're very large nonprofit. They were set up by Greystone to invest in affordable properties around the country, and they will keep it affordable, and they have monies to come in and do some repairs on the property and improve it. So our goal is to take the monies out that we receive and put into new ventures like our new Lease Street property, what we're doing on the east side, new properties that we're looking at around the state, but mainly in the city of Charleston. So the funds that we would receive, our plan is that would be CHODO funds. As Gianna said, it's a percentage, the way HUD rules, it's a percentage of the proceeds would go back into CHODO activities. So our plan is to put some of that money into other properties that also have deferred maintenance that are older, also to put into advocacy activities on the east side as we continue to look at future development and potentially working on an RFP with the Charleston Housing Authority with RAD. So we would look at maintenance, operations, and advocacy activities on the east side. We could also use some of that funding for pre-development dollars to help us. This is a very cash intensive business, and it takes a lot on the front end to get a development off the ground. So some of that funding could be used for that as well.
Very good. Well, I appreciate that thorough explanation, Ms. Johnson and Ms. Doran. This is just another example of all the collaboration we're doing in the city of Charleston around affordable housing. Do we Did we get a motion on this or not? I still got the training wheels on, Councilman Shade.
So
You did
moved.
not.
So moved. That's right.
All right, we got a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Any discussion, any questions from the committee members? Mr. Mayor?
So, just curiosity, how many units are at the Shire? I did want to ask, I presume the reduction of the amount from 379 to 160 or so is a result of some amortization that occurs over time. You keep the property affordable and it kind of knocks down a little bit every year. Is that the reason for that?
Right. So Mayor, based on HUD's guidelines and the fact that we invested what we call home CHOTO funds, we invested 379,000, and there's a multiplier or a formula that HUD gives us. And so we literally divide what we invested into the total development cost at that time. That comes out to, so it was about 6,661,000. So when you take 379,000 and you divide it by that factor, you get 5.7%. So then that is the percentage of funding that will come back once Tracy and her team negotiates with Harmony Housing. A percentage of it comes back. Right.
And I don't mean any offense at all by this question, Tracy. I have full confidence in what you're doing. I would respectfully ask that you mentioned Charleston, but you also said South Carolina. I would respectfully ask that these funds be invested in your Charleston projects. I think that's appropriate. But I guess my question was, why does the money not come back to the city to put back out as opposed to staying with Tracy to put back out into one of her other projects? I'm just curious.
Sure, Mayor, that was the other option, that it could literally come back to the city or go back to the nonprofit. And so our recommendation, in light of the fact that we know the nonprofit has other CHOTO eligible projects out there, to have those reinvested therein, simply because they need capital reinvestment, and it saves us from having to pull money from other areas of our allocations to assist them.
Oh, great. Correct.
Yes, sir. And I would also add to this that state housing also has funding. Theirs comes up to about 6%. So, and Tracy, I'm not sure what they're requiring you to do, probably a similar thing, but you have to, based on the regulations, invest that money in the area that awarded it to you. So hers are absolutely required to come back to the city of Charleston.
That's right, Mayor. To clarify, the money that the CHOTO proceeds from the city of Charleston would absolutely be spent on city of Charleston properties. The state portion would not necessarily have to be.
Thank you very much.
Good deal. Councilman Shade.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Jonah, curious about this one provision in here that the new owners, once we sell it, are to maintain affordable renting housing for persons or families earning 60% and below the area median income for a period not to exceed 30 years. So it's sort of a two-pronged question for you. If we did not sell the property, would that requirement restriction still exist, or would the property remain affordable housing for eternity?
No, we did not have perpetuity or 90 years attached to this rental property. This was property we invested in. We did not own this land, if you will. And so, no, it would not be for perpetuity or 90 years. It would be this. There was a 30-year restrictive covenant attached to this.
All right. So does the clock start over with the 30-year time frame, or are they getting it with how much time is left on this 30-year time frame? Tracy's shaking her head, so I guess I'd answer the question.
Yes.
They are assuming the restrictive covenants from the state housing, from South Carolina housing, and from the home restrictive covenants that are on the property. So they are under the same restrictions we would be under if we stayed in the property.
Okay, and then my follow-up question is, when this 30-year time frame lapses, what happens?
So Councilmember Shea, they can either, recapitalize and go back to state housing for additional funding, or they can sell it on the open market.
And we would not have any say-so in that at all, would we?
No, sir, not at that point. We could, we could have the option to buy if you'd like, but again, that's part of these original deals that were put forth with the 30-year restrictive covenants attached to them.
So I guess it's sort of the way of asking this question. They had the potential of a significant windfall at the end of this 30-year period from a profit standpoint.
You mean profitability wise?
Yes.
I would just say this, they still have to charge restricted rents. So the entire time they are required by Section 42 that governs low-income housing tax credits, that they have to charge rents at 60% below AMI.
Okay.
There are not many of these organizations that garner a windfall as a result of that. Now, naturally, at the end of that, if those restrictions have fallen off, they can then sell it as a market rate property. And we know that in our community currently, the values of properties are escalating exponentially. So there's an opportunity then. During that period, I don't see where there would be a great windfall.
Jonah, that's why we keep you around, because you know this stuff, and it's such a benefit to the city that you got this stuff mastered, and we appreciate your service to us. I can't tell you how valuable it is for you to explain it to us like in those terms. Thank you.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Gianna. And Mr. Mayor.
So Tracy, how many years are left? And did you have did the city have a option or right of first refusal? And is it too late to add that now for the new owners?
Mayor, no, this was done 15 years ago. This property is in its 15th year. We have 5 more years on the home restrictions, and the low-income housing tax credit program has a 30-year restriction. So there was not any kind of right of first refusal. I don't know that we could layer that in at this point with Harmony. That would complicate things, but it wasn't done that way in the beginning.
I mean, at this point, the city doesn't really have any leverage with Harmony, do we? So to speak, I mean,
well, I mean, they're under leverage with the IRS and South Carolina Housing.
right.
I mean, they are under those restrictions. I mean, the same with Humanities Foundation. I mean,
Right. Okay, understood. Thank you.
Good deal. All right. Do we have any other questions? Any other discussion? Hearing none, we've got a motion on the floor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is item D. This is a request for the mayor and city council to enter into an option to lease with RHG Housing Development LLC, the successful bidder for the Johns Island Affordable Housing RFP for Fenwick Properties. Who has the honor and privilege of giving us a little bit more information on this one?
Thank you, sir, for the honor and the privilege. So Councilmember Appel and members of the Real Estate Committee, you have before you now an option to lease and acquire real property. So this particular agreement does 2 things. It allows RHG to enter into a option to lease for the property that the city acquired back in 2018 that we call the Fenwick property. They are basically applying for 9% tax credits, which would allow them to build a minimum or to build 90 rental units of affordable housing. The RFP that we released and they responded to also required the construction of affordable for sale housing. So we're really excited that in addition to the rental, a part of this agreement would allow us to also secure for sale housing. And that for sale component would require us to sell the balance of the land to them for the purposes of building the for sale. So they would basically enter into a development agreement with the city of Charleston to build. Right now, we are estimating a minimum of 28, and we are negotiating with them to kick that number up just slightly. But basically, we would have for sale, we would have rental. The rental would be under a ground lease, very similar to what we've done before, whereby they would rent to persons at 60% and below the area median income. They would retain the property for 60 years. And at the end of that 60 years, both the land and the improvement would come back to the city. On the for sale component, naturally, they and their partners would build that for sale housing. Our thought is an attached product for this land. And then they would sell those to our first-time home buyers, attaching our 90-year restrictive covenant. In addition to those two provisions, the organization is also requesting from the city of Charleston $1 million in support to address the infrastructure that will be required at this site. And we, as the agreement indicates, we have time to look at that more thoroughly and work through all of the due diligence periods. That is a part of the request that they have put before council today, and more specifically real estate. And as it indicated in the document that you are looking at, RHG was one of the organizations that responded to a request for proposals that we put out last year. And there was a committee of us, including Councilmember Brady, that selected this organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. Appreciate that. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
We have a motion from Councilman Shade. Do we have a second? The mayor has seconded. Now it's on the floor for discussion or any questions. Does anybody have a question or comment?
Call the vote.
Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is item E. This is a request to approve a lease amendment regarding a lease at 2093 Executive Hall Road. Who has got this one covered?
Chairman Appel, I can help with this one.
Thank you, Ms.
This is just an additional 1-year renewal of a lease that's been in place for a few years. This property is used by the police department. The special operations division personnel are located there right now. We are working on finding a more long-term home for them. But in the meantime, they would like to renew the lease for 1 more year. And I'm happy to answer any questions or provide any
Move
info
for
on them.
approval.
Thank you, Ms. Bailey. We got a motion on the floor to approve. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Come on, Boyd. Give us your first second. You'll never forget it.
All right.
All right. We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions for Ms. Bailey or anybody else? Hearing none. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. The ayes have it. And that brings us to the close of our, I guess.
No, two
Oh, no, there's
annexations.
2 annexations.
I was going to say this brings us to the close of like the real estate portion. Now we get into our annexations.
That was a pretty good pivot there, Mr. Chairman.
Hey. And we got 2 annexations. One, the rush to District 11 continues, unsurprisingly, and perhaps one of the best LLC names I think I've ever seen, and this is for the District 9 annexation, Little Dudes LLC and the Dudes Invests LLC.
Only in District 9, Councilmember.
I mean, I gotta tell you, you got some cool constituents.
I keep on telling people the cool place to live in Charleston is in District 9.
There you go. There you go. Do we want to hear some, brief, comments about this from Mr. Morgan?
Yes.
Christopher, are you on the call?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. And these are 2 residential annexations. And as you noted, the districts that they're in, and we're bringing them to you for approval.
So
Good deal.
moved.
All right, Councilman Shade, is this for both?
For both.
All right, we have a motion to approve both annexations. Did I hear a second?
Second.
All right, we got a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it. And now we have concluded our real estate committee meeting agenda. Does anybody have anything they'd like to bring up for good of the order or things like that? The mayor.
Where is that property on Wapu Drive in relation to our WPAL site? Do you know?
It's not even close, Mr. Mayor, I don't think. It's on the other side of Ashley Hall Road.
Correct. It's an offshoot in an odd location up there in Councilman Shade's district. It's not down on the south side of Savannah Highway the way you would think with the name Wapu Drive.
I think it's part of the Pinecrest neighborhood. Isn't that right,
Yes.
Christopher?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking Wapu Road.
Correct. Yeah, it's Wapu Drive.
Wapu Drive.
Wapu Drive.
It's a curve. We got like Ashley Hall Road and Ashley River Road and Ashley Hall Plantation Road, and it gets a little confusing when you get Wapu
Right.
Drive. Yes. So
It's near Lenavar.
It's near Linnevar. Right.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Pinecrest area, Pinecrest Baptist Church, that area.
Gotcha.
Good deal.
Glad to have it.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor, for bringing up WPAL. Maybe sometime we can get an update on where all that stands. That's an exciting park project in District 11 and a great way to get some public access to the Stono River. So very excited to hear more about that in the appropriate forum. Anything else from anybody?
Good meeting, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thanks. We got this all done in about 30 minutes, and we'll see everybody at 4:30 for Public Works and Utilities. Thanks for everyone's help, and we got a lot done today. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you.